Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs, and I welcome you guys back to another brand new Patreon Q&A Mangs Cam Talk video. I haven't done these in a while, because it wasn't my impression that people wasn't too stoked about them, but then I got a bunch of requests from my patrons to do another one, along with some questions, so here we go. There's 9 questions, there's going to be timestamps linked in the description with the questions, if you guys want to just check out certain questions that I have answers to, and not all of them. But we will be starting out here with a Daval Kale, I think that's your name, sorry for watching it, and he asks, would you rather have a tellies sequel or an elibe sequel? Sequel. And my answer to that is, you know, obviously being the massive Elite fanboy that I am, I love Fire Emblem 7 and Fire Emblem 6 more than I love Fire Emblem 9 and 10. I'm a big fan of the tellies series, but the Game Boy Advance series are closer to my heart because they're what I grew up with, so of course I'm gonna have to say a sequel to elibe. Now, what I think would be really cool is if they released a game that remade Fire Emblem 7, Fire Emblem 6, and then the 3rd generation, and included pairing systems, so that, for example, you know, the choices you make in the story of Lyn, Eliwood, and Hector carries over into the story of Roy. So, for example, you pair Lyn and Hector up, you're gonna get Sue with Hector's, you know, with bonuses from Hector. And of course, you could add Awakening-style skills to that, personal skills, you could add a lot of different things, you could add mechanics from other Fire Emblem games to make a really good one. So I think that a sequel to elibe would definitely be a big hit, and we also know that our director of Echoes, when asked what game he wanted to remake the most, he said Fire Emblem 6. He said that that would probably be their next Echoes game. So, however, I do believe that a tellies sequel would generate a lot of hype. Ike is very popular, and so is a lot of the other tellies characters. Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn has gotten a bit of like a cult following, I feel, in the later years. Like when the games came out, in terms of sales, they did not do well. But it seems to have picked up steam as the years went by, and now, I mean, if you can find a copy of Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn right now, you can sell it for a very large sum of money, because they are basically collector's items at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I think that if they were to make a sequel to a tellies game, people would absolutely love it. So, but personally, if I got to make the choice, I'd love to see a 3rd generation, the son or daughter of Roy, and to see more of the elibe universe, because that is the universe that is the dearest to my heart. Alright, so the next game comes in from Sammy Spartan, and Sammy Spartan asks, what sort of games do you play outside of strategy games or RPGs? And the answer to that is very few. I am a massive strategy and RPG geek. That is the games that I really enjoy the most. I mean, I played World of Warcraft for many years, but that is, you know, that's an MMO RPG, so I guess that falls under the same category. I mean, I guess the only game that I really played that was outside of that category was MOBAs. I used to play Heroes of Newerth, Dota 2, Dota 1 back in the Warcraft 3 engine, and also tried a little bit of League of Legends, but didn't particularly like it. The problem with MOBAs is that MOBAs is the sort of game that you have to be really good at to really enjoy them. It's not fun playing MOBAs when you just keep dying. MOBAs are very punishing, and you start to get flamed by your teammates. And even, honestly, even if you're good in MOBAs, you're probably still gonna get flamed by your teammates, because it's a really toxic environment, because it's basically 5 people on the internet trying to work together, and that usually do not go very well. So, but yeah, I gotta be a bit boring here, and I'm gonna say that aside from MOBAs, and you know, I'd say, you know, I do branch out and try different games from time to time, like Fire Emblem Warriors. I just do not enjoy anything that's not strategy. I'm just a big strategy geek. It's what I love doing. I love calculating, thinking ahead, analyzing things, taking chances, weighing risks. You know, that's what I enjoy with video games. I've always loved strategy ever since I was a little kid. And I've tried to play Overwatch, but I just suck at it. I have no coordination. I just cannot aim. I am so bad at aiming in video games. I never got that skill down. Whenever I play a first-person shooter, I just feel like I go out there and I die. It doesn't even feel fair. Even when I play against terrible people, I just go out and I die, and I don't understand what's going on around me. I have zero awareness of what's going on around me. Like my my orientation skills have never been good. I'm the kind of guy who gets lost a lot. So for me to go out in a first-person shooter, I constantly want to get more vision. That's why I like games that, you know, that's why I love strategy games, because you see everything. Most of the time you can see the entire map from above, and that's what I love doing. I guess you could say that, of course, there's 2 other games that I didn't mention. I played a shit ton of Age of Empires, and I played a shit ton of StarCraft. Those are, of course, strategy games too, but they are, you know, real-time strategy games. I guess they also fall under the same category, but I'm fairly good at those games. I used to be really good. I got coached by one of the best Norwegian Age of Empires players when I was a teenager, and I also made it to Master League in StarCraft. But again, I know that that also falls under the category of strategy, but I just thought I'd point it out. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. I am strategy geek all the way, baby. So the next question comes in from Servant of Nime, and she asks, if there were to be a game expanding any of the current lands, whether it be a sequel, prequel, midquel, or anything in between, a la Thracia, 776, Fire Emblem 7, or Fire Emblem 3, which one would you want? And is there anything precise you'd like to see from this new edition if it were to happen? So this is very similar to the first question that Davalkel asked, but it's a bit more wider. Like, I can pick any continent I want and add a prequel, sequel, or a midquel, is that even a word? To said game. And I think that the game, like, I've said this before, and I think this would be really popular, even though many people will probably go like, really, Mangs? But I think that the World of Fates desperately needs a sequel or a prequel. And I know that the World of Fates seems like this irreparably bad designed world. I mean, they didn't even bother to do anything but like a Google map of it. But I think if we were to have a sequel to Fates, we could have the children characters as the main characters. And I think that would be very popular, and you could add a 3rd generation on top of that, preferably without the time space mumbo jumbo bullshit that they pull. But I think that personally, I would really love to just see a sequel to Fates, because I do like Fates. I think that the story just is a huge missed opportunity, but if they made a sequel with proper world design, they could build on the skeletal frame of the Fates world, and they could add a proper world map and proper locations and proper culture and history for both Hoshido and Nor. Because if you don't know this, this is actually something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, but the original script for Fates was supposed to be much bigger than the one we got. According to an interview with the developers from inside sources, they cut 70% of the script for Fates in post-production. They cut away 70% of it. Now, why they did this, we're not entirely sure. There could be 2 reasons, and don't quote me on that if it's exactly 70% or it's something along those lines. You know, if I don't get the number right, I apologize, but I do know that they cut away a huge percentage of the script. And as I said, there could be 2 reasons for this. One, they could have done it because they weren't happy with it. Like, okay, this script sucks, we can't use this, let's cut away all the bullshit. Or they cut it away because they ran out of resources and they realized that, okay, we can't implement this entire script. 70% or something along those lines. It's more than half, that's that much I know. This really explains why the World of Fates feels so poor. I mean, if you really think about the plot of Fates, especially Birthright, the first, like, 20 chapters of Birthright are nearly all filler. Can you name one important event that takes place before the Birthright endgame, on their way to Nor? You know, aside from, you know, Takumi getting sick. It's just, they walk from one nameless village to the other, and they just encounter enemies, and nothing happens. Occasionally they run into the royals. And I think that the reason why the story feels so poor is because they cut away so much of the script. There was supposed to be more dialogue, there was supposed to be more events, there was supposed to be more stuff happening. And this is really the feeling that I was left with after playing Fates. It's like, feels like I'm just playing a skeleton of a game. Like, there was supposed to be so much more here. And the fact that a lot of the script got cut away, it really, really proves that, or at least it really enforces that theory. Which is why I think if they took another shot at it, if they made a prequel/sequel to Fates, they really focused on building up the world, building up the history, and really, like, just built on the skeletal structure that Fates had. I think we could have a potentially really good game, because I really enjoy the concept of Fates. You know, the whole Asian style versus the Norse style. You know, just as long as we just don't get evil Nor and good Hoshido. And, you know, it would be fun to see, if we got a prequel, it would be fun to see, like, young Garen and Sumeragi, and then see their story, you know. Garen is probably one of those villains that are just, you know, so much missed potential, because he is so brilliantly designed in his aesthetics. He looks great, and the fact that we never got to see his good side was a big wasted opportunity, at least for me. So I'm actually going to go ahead and say Fates. I know that's going to shock a lot of people, but that's actually what I would love to see the most. Alright, and the next question comes in from everyone's favorite lewd mod. It is Momiji. Momiji, I'm still not 100% sure how to pronounce that name. And Momiji asks, hey Mangs, pantyhose, garter belts, or fishnet stockings? Ah, I love questions like this, I really do. So, I'm not a big fan of pantyhose. Do not do a lot for me. They're okay, but they're things that I find more attractive. Fishnet stockings are pretty good, can be done right. You need really thick thighs though to make fishnet stockings work. In order to really get the good fishnet look, your thighs need to almost be like bulging out so that they almost look like the fishnet stockings are about to explode. You really need really thick legs for the fishnet stockings to work. But I gotta say, I am a sucker for garter belts. Garter belts are really, really, really attractive, especially because they often come in combination with thigh highs. And I think what's amazing about garter belts is that they just really makes your thighs look good. You don't even need thick thighs. And in fact, I'd say that garter belts actually emphasizes the thickness of your thighs. So any girl, put on the garter belts and your thighs will look amazing. Of course, it looks very slutty, so very few girls actually wear these things outside because it kind of makes you look like a prostitute. So I get that girls don't want to wear garter belts, but man, they look great. I wish more girls would wear them. I'm definitely a garter belts guy. Alright, so the next question comes in from Lopo, and he asks, what do you think of each Fire Emblem game from worst to bests? Now, I am not going to answer this right now because I am actually working on a video where I talk about just that. It's gonna take some time because it's a massive project. I'm working on 2 very big projects right now. One of them is exactly that. I plan to rank every single Fire Emblem game from worst to best in a single video. So I'm not gonna answer this right here because I don't want to spoil my results. However, Lopo did include a secondary question, and that's good. And he says, if that one's taken, well, you know, I'm just not gonna answer it because, as I explained, it's coming. Worst to bests. Taken, then order worst to best, which is the best furry class in the Fire Emblem games. That's how I always, you know, every time when someone uses that dumb smiley, I just go, ooh, that's I always envision. I know that's not how it's pronounced, but alright, so worst to best. I gotta admit, I don't really have a list of like worst to best furry classes because I don't really use the furry classes all that much. Even when I played the tellies series, I just didn't use the Lagoose, aside from the Lagoose Royals in the endgame. But I will tell you what my favorite furry class is. I love the Kitsune. I love the Kitsune from Fates. I think they're great. Not only do the girls look gorgeous when they're not transformed with their fishnet stockings and their skirts, but I just really love their animations. I thought they were a lot of fun to use. And in my Fates, my Corin Quest playthroughs, I usually got Kitsune Corins, which of course had to be hacked to be put into the game, but I really liked a lot of them. You know, they were actually really useful units with their beast banes and stuff like that. So I will say that Kitsune are probably my favorite furry class. Aside from that, I don't really use them all that often because I like weapons. I never really liked a class that was like stuck to one weapon. I feel like that's a weakness in most cases, because you really like effective weapons and weapons that reverses weapon triangles and stuff like that. I feel like not having access to more than one weapon is a big penalty, and I don't necessarily feel like many of the classes in Fire Emblem that are animal classes, they don't really outweigh that penalty with their advantages. At least that's what unless you're a Lagoose Royal, in which case you just solo the game, because you're broken as fuck. So the next one comes in from Gregster, and he says, or asks, who are your top 5 favorite meme characters in Fire Emblem? Oh boy, I actually wrote this one down because I felt like giving a proper response to this one. Of course, the first one, I don't think anyone will be surprised, Dorcas. If you say anything other than Dorcas, then you are not allowed to like meme characters. He is the ultimate meme character, because intelligence systems freaking put him into heroes based on memes. So Dorcas will always be the #1 meme lord. Number 2, I'm gonna say Gordon. Gordon was a little bit of a meme prior to the Shadow Dragon LP, you know, the whole but Mars and 5 points. That was the thing before I started. That was not something that I created. I'm not going to take credit for that. But I think that I have kind of revitalized Gordon a bit as a meme in the Fire Emblem community. And I hope that, you know, the Shadow Dragon LP will continue to do that, because I love Gordon. He's just great. The Fire Emblem OVA is so good. Like, even if it's just 2 episodes, it's so good. It's so well made. You know, even though the animations are crap and the voice acting is weird, It's just so good. I don't know what it is about it. It's just so charming. I think Gordon's just a fantastic character, and I just like Gordon overall. I think his design is cool. I like him a lot. Number 3, I'm gonna say Roger. I know Roger's not a meme, but we're gonna make him a meme because me and Mecha are having a lot of fun with Roger.
Roger.
And I don't know. I like Roger. We're gonna make him a meme, guys.
Roger.
Roger for heroes. Number 4, I'm gonna say Takumi. Takumi is a big meme lord in my opinion, like the whole betrayal thing and just, you know, I think Takumi's just become a very iconic meme character in the Fire Emblem community, you know, the whole pineapples thing. And number 5, I'm gonna say Arden, because Arden is just great, you know. He also got put into the game based on the power of memes, you know, the power of pursuit and all that. Arden's just fantastic. I love Arden. He's just a lovable guy, and it's funny that he's probably, you know, if you compile the list of like the worst Fire Emblem characters in history, I think Arden would be up there. He'd probably win that. I think there might be a few characters who are objectively worse than him, but Arden would definitely be, at least in Fire Emblem 4, I consider him the worst playable unit in the entire roster, and that's a pretty hard title to contend with, so, but still, he's great. Alright, the next question comes in from Raptor980, and he says, in previous videos, I remember you saying that you work on YouTube full-time. Have you ever stopped making certain kinds of content because its results were too unsatisfactory? If so, what content? This question may be too financially personal, so I understand you may not want to answer it, which is fine. Oh no, I have no issues talking about my analytics and everything. I'm not a big fan of telling everyone exactly how much I earn, because that's something that YouTube networks likes you to keep hidden for whatever. I don't know, I asked the networks, they just don't like you going around telling everyone what you earn. But I will say that yes, this is the joy and curse of working with YouTube. The joy, of course, is that you get to do this for a living, which is great. The curse is that you are kind of slave to views. And there are series that I probably would have done if I hadn't done this full-time that I would not do now because I have to make a certain amount of views every single day. Now, for example, a good example of this would be my Fire Emblem Heroes Weekly series, which I really enjoyed doing, and I had a whole team working on it, and it was a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, I got around like 4,000 to 5,000 views in some of the latter episode, which is just not enough considering I invested about 7 to 8 hours of work total into each episode. At the end of the day, you know, you got limited hours during the day. I'm not going to be able to work more than, you know, my limit of editing is like on a good day, I can work maybe like, I can edit for like 7 to 8 hours maybe. You know, that's a good work day. Most days I don't edit that much. You know, it's more like maybe 4 to 5 hours of editing every day. And that's just editing. That's not the time that I spend actually recording or writing scripts. There's a lot of other work involved, but there's a limited amount of time that I can spend during the day to make videos. And the truth of the matter is, if a video is not going to do well in terms of views, well, I can't make it. It's just not, it's like, you know, it's like if you go to work and you take the bus every day to work, and the bus costs a certain amount of time and money, and then you go to work and you go home again, and you make the calculations and you find out that the bus trip and the bus ride costs you more than you get for the work. Well, what are you gonna do? Well, obviously you can't work there anymore, because you spend more time and energy traveling to the work than you do actually getting work out of it, so it just becomes a charity. And what are the results of that? Well, you have to quit that work and find another work that's more economically stable. It's a bit of a stupid analogy, but I think you guys get my point with the whole thing. If I spend 8 hours making a video that ends up getting 3,000 views, well, I can't. If I keep doing that, I'm not gonna have a job because, you know, I'm just not gonna be making enough money to pay rent. Of course, there are exceptions, like this video that I'm doing right here. I don't give a shit how many views this video gets, because this is a video that I do as a gift for my patrons. The same thing with my Patreon requests. I do not give a shit. Like my the Oregon Trail that I did the other day is actually gotten demonetized by YouTube for whatever reason. I have no idea. I think it's because, I don't know, maybe they think like Native Americans and stuff like that is like a sensitive topic. I don't know. The YouTube algorithm is just stupid these days, but that just got demonetized, and I just simply didn't care, because I was like, I don't care, I'm doing it for my Patreons, I'm giving something back to them because they're donating money to me, and so I don't care if it gets 10 views, as long as the guy that requested the video gets happy, and from what I gathered, he did, so that was all worth it for me. So yeah, it's a bit sad, really, because there are things that I would love to do, like I would love to play more XCOM, but at the end of the day, the XCOM series that I did just got about 1,000 views per episode, which just isn't enough for me to invest time doing it, which is sad, but that's just the nature of YouTube, and I wish it wasn't that way. It seems to be that, you know, the content that people are mostly interested in is Fire Emblem Let's Plays. That seems to be what I'm doing the best at, and that's what I have to keep doing, and that's what I love doing, so that's no problem for me, really. But everyone always goes like, Mangs, you gotta branch out more, you gotta try different games. Every time I do that, the view count suffers. So I don't know, I think with YouTube you kind of gotta stick to what you're good at. I think people tune into my channel to watch Fire Emblem. They don't tune into my channel necessarily to watch me play another game that is not Fire Emblem, because there are other YouTubers out there better at me that they can go watch instead of just watching me noob around all day. Of course, I could spend a lot of time and energy to build up, like what I've done with Civilization. I combined Civilization and Fire Emblem, which was a genius idea. I'm really happy that I did that, and I might do more of that in the future, where I did Civilization 5 with Fire Emblem mods. And that was really popular because it brought a lot of people in, and it made a lot of people invested in Civilization. And those episodes actually ended up doing pretty well. So there are things I can do to branch out that you know, I can add a Fire Emblem spin to a game, for example. There's definitely things I can do in that way. Now, of course, before I end this question, there's a big difference between series that get a lot of views quickly and then stop generating views, and series that generate a lot of views all the time. My spotlights are really high maintenance, really high investment videos that don't end up doing a lot. That don't end up starting out great, but they end up generating a lot of views over time. Like, I think my Camilla spotlight on Fates is like almost 100,000 views at this point, because it just keeps generating views. Because a lot of people want to search for Camilla for whatever reason. I can't imagine why they would search for Camilla. I mean, I guess your guess is as good as mine, but so there are certain videos that you can make that may not be financially rewarding right away, but they bring in a lot of views over time because either they go viral or people timeless videos that will always be interesting, like lore videos. People will always want to watch that. Whereas with a Let's Play, they're very relevant when they first come out, but they're not as exciting to watch when they're old because, you know, they've already taken place and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a very long question, or a long answer to a short question, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. So the next question comes in from Metadash, and he asks, so what's the situation now with Lati? Didn't want to ask on Twitch Q&A since I felt it might be too personal there, and you wouldn't have time to explain. Okay, so normally I would not answer this question on my channel, because I feel like it's a private thing. But I do know that a lot of you guys are curious about this, because Lati have appeared physically on my streams. I think she's even in my channel trailer. And, you know, she's physically been here and part of some of my videos. However, the only thing I can really say is that we used to be a couple, but we're not anymore. And the reasons why we're not a couple anymore, that is between me and Lati. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind talking about my relationships. I don't mind talking about my relationships at all. I can pour my heart out about, you know, why relationships didn't work, and, you know, the choices that I made and stuff like that, and, you know, why I ended certain relationships. But I will only do that as long as the person that I'm talking about is anonymous. Since you guys know who Lati is, and she hangs out in my communities, it would be extremely disrespectful of me to talk about our private relationship, you know, what worked, what didn't work, stuff like that, when you guys know who she is. And I would just never do that. I'm happy to talk about any of my relationships that I have had with other girls that you guys don't know about because they're anonymous, so I can actually talk about them without it affecting them in any way. That's just how I like to do things. I don't usually get very personal on my channel anyway, unless asked. It's not that I have issues talking about it. I'm a very open person. I can talk about everything. But normally I do not go very in depth. I know a lot of you guys, I know I hung out with Lati a little bit in the Discord voice chat. A lot of people went crazy about that, like, oh, they're getting back together, blah, blah, blah. We're just friends. She hangs out in my community, so I guess you guys can assume that things are okay between us. But yeah, that's all I really want to say on that. We used to be a couple, we're not a couple anymore, and the reasons behind that will forever be between me and Lati. So that's, I hope that answers your question. I don't want to be rude or anything and just shut you down, but as long as you guys know who she is, I couldn't possibly talk openly about it on a public channel. That would just be really disrespectful. That's not the kind of person that I am. I do, you know, contrary to what people may think, I do really respect people's privacy. Alright, so last question comes in from everyone's favorite little fuckboy. It's Agim, also known as Gnarf Ledarf. And Agim asks, how would you go about balancing flexibility versus... Okay, I can't do a German accent. That actually sounded more French than anything. Let's just do the regular voice. How would you go about balancing flexibility versus specialization? For example, classes that uses multiple weapons, heroes, great knights, versus classes that are locked to one weapon, swordmasters, berserkers, or classes that uses both strength and magic, Basaras and Malig Knights. Okay, so I think everyone's aware of this, but I have said it multiple times that the classes in this is a Fates problem, by the way. I really think this is a Fates problem because it wasn't really a huge issue until Fates came around. I have always said in Fates that the classes that specializes in a single weapon are superior to those who specializes in multiple weapons. So the sniper will always be better than the apothecary, for example, or the merchant. Berserkers are superior to heroes, and Swordmasters are superior to heroes as well. And the Spearmasters are definitely superior to the Basara and other classes that uses lances. And the reason behind this is that in Fates, weapons don't break. So what does this mean? Well, in pre-Fates games, if you were a Swordmaster, you were locked to swords. This was a huge issue. You could go up against lance users if you had a Reaver weapon, but they would eventually break, unless you know, got like, in Awakening, you could do like arm shift builds or anything like that. But let's say you're in a Game Boy Advance game, so yeah, you have a Swordmaster. If you send that Swordmaster up against promoted Lance users, that Swordmaster is most likely going to die, unless you use a Lance Reaver. Of course, the Lance Reaver is eventually going to break, so you're going to run out of it. And that's not a problem in Fates. You can use a dual katana, and that dual katana will never break, and you can just use it to your heart's content. The unbreakable weapon system was really what broke those classes, or what made those classes really good. The same with Berserker. Like, Berserkers are, I think, probably the best class in Fates. I think they're probably the best class in Fates, because they crit everything, they have loads of hit points, so they almost never die, and you can just equip them with a dual club, and you got your solution against the sword users. Just give them a dual club, and they have the edge against sword users, and the dual club never breaks, and they just crit the shit out of everything. You give them a great club, or a killing club, or a killing axe, they're just going to kill everything in their path before anything have a chance to do anything to them, because a crit just deals so much damage in Fates. So, and the same thing goes, for example, with the Spearmaster versus the Basara. Why would you be a Basara when you can just be a Spearmaster? You just swap to Basara to earn the Basara class skills, like Quixotic and that other skill that escapes me at the moment. And then you just swap back to the Spearmaster to get the 50% crit bonus and the S-rank specialization, because of course, that's also another thing that Fates did. It excluded certain weapon ranks from certain classes. If you want S-rank in bows, you have to be a sniper. Apothecary and merchant will never be able to use S-rank bows, no matter how much you train them. So, because of that, you just want to swap to the other classes to get the good skills, and then you want to swap back to the specialization class to get the S-rank skill, the good skills, and of course the crit bonus, which they often get. I think all of the specialization classes get some sort of crit bonus, and that just makes it so that you just primarily want your army to consist of Spearmasters, Snipers, Berserkers, and Swordmasters. Did I say Swordmasters? So, and that's a big problem. That's a massive problem, and I noticed that especially in Coring Quest. I mean, who ended up being my best classes in Coring Quest? It was Berserkers, it was Swordmasters, it was Snipers, and it was, you know, Spearmasters. I'm bad at I probably always forget a name or two, but you guys know my point. So, however, prior to the Fates games, I'd say that the weapons themselves and the fact that they did break, they balanced out this in a very good way. And the fact that that's why I kind of miss breakable weapons, because I feel like they balanced the classes. Of course, you could probably make the argument that Swordmasters were pretty bad in the Game Boy Advance games, because they couldn't use javelins or hand axes, because the javelin and hand axes were just so fucking good. Yet in the Fates games, the hand axe and javelin were nerfed to oblivion, you know, with the minus effective speed and the inability to double or proc special skills. So Fates kind of went the other way, you know. The specialization classes used to be pretty bad back in the day, and then Fates comes around and they're just super overpowered. So they went too far in one direction. But how would you end up balancing it? I think if we get a Fate-style game where maybe reclassing is a bit more tricky to do, like, I am actually working on a big video right now where I design my Ultimate Fire Emblem game, and one of the changes that I would apply to my Ultimate Fire Emblem game is second seals should be really valuable. Like, they should be as valuable as Master Seals. I feel like in Awakening and Fates, you kind of get them thrown at you really easily. You can buy them from the shop for a pretty cheap price. I think that, first of all, you just want to make sure that second seals are really, really valuable, so you can't do the constant reclassing just to get skills and reclass back. That would kind of force you to make choices. Like, you promote to a Basara, most likely you have to stay a Basara. Because, you know, you have a limited second seals to work with. Unless you really want to build a good Basara / Spearmaster, you have to, like, sacrifice a lot to do that. Also, I would like to touch upon the magic / strength classes. I mean, I don't think, like, I know that I'm gonna get a lot of comments saying like, Mangs, I trained an Oni Savage and it was really good, I swear. Like, yeah, sure, you can make them viable, you can make them work, but statistically they're always going to be inferior. Why would you want a Oni Savage that does decent damage with an axe and decent damage with spells when you can have a Berserker that kills everything with crits or a Sage that kills everything with magic? Why would you have a strength magic split class? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like I guess that there's certain builds you can run. Like I know that some people like Levin Axe or Thunder Axe Oni Savage with a lot of magic, but at the end of the day, these builds are just very gimmicky and they're probably fun to play, but statistically just inferior to the specialization classes. But yeah, make second seals average, make weapons breakable again. Maybe just, I don't know, I think just unbreakable reaver weapons are the reason why the specialization classes are so good, because again, my favorite class from the Game Boy Advance games, the Paladin. Paladins are just insane. Why are they insane? Because in 2 out of the 3 Game Boy Advance games, they have access to the entire weapon triangle. This means that as a Paladin, you will always, in every single situation, you will have a weapon triangle advantage on player face, unless you're an idiot. You know, you'll always have a weapon triangle advantage, unless of course you're going up against an archer or some class that is immune to the weapon triangle. This is a huge boon, if you think about it. You'll always have that extra hit and avoid, and that's really undervalued, I think, by a lot of players. So yeah, what can I say? Just, I don't know. I feel like it worked decently before Fates. It was really just the unbreakable weapons that fucked up the class balance. Alright, so these are all the questions that I got for this video. If you guys want me to do another one, then just let me know. I might make another one closer to Christmas. I really do enjoy doing this, and I hope that you guys enjoy watching these as well. Seems like you do for the most part, so that's good. I would just like to give a huge, massive thank you to not only the patrons who submitted questions, but every single patron that backs me on Patreon. I am extremely humbled and grateful for your assistance. I would like to say though, if you have financial difficulties and you're having difficulties backing me on Patreon, please put yourself first. I get some PMs from people that make me feel really bad, because I get some PMs occasionally on Discord where they go like, I'm sorry Mangs, I don't think I can support you, and my response to that is always, yourself first. Do not pledge anything on Patreon unless you can pay your own bills, please. Your own finances will always come first. But if you at the end of the month have paid all your bills and you have the ability to support me with $5 a month, I am eternally grateful to you guys. You guys are the reason I can continue doing this, especially with YouTube demonetizing everything left, right, and center. It's extremely humbling to me, and it's still very difficult for me to accept this, because, you know, it's really, you know, I don't know what to say. Like, it makes me really, you know, I can't even find the words to express my emotion and gratitude for what you guys do. I still really can't believe it to this day. But really, thank you so much for everything that you do. I hope you're content with what I'm giving you on Patreon, and I'm definitely gonna work as hard as I can to provide you with more content. And thank you so much, everyone. I love you all, and yeah, I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.